Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. I'm your host, Mari Riesberg. Over the past several years, I've combined my degrees in acting and somatic psychology to share my sustaining creativity techniques with performers. And now I've decided to share it with a bigger audience that includes you. I believe we are all creative, and this podcast is all about that. I'll be interviewing people from all backgrounds, ages, and creativity experiences to share just how creative we all are. Today, I'll be chatting with Jenni Kowal, visual artist and personal development coach and creative guide. Please enjoy Jenni Kowal. Welcome to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. Today, I am here with Jenni Kowal, a creativity and creative guide. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I am super excited to chat with you about creativity. Before hitting the record button, we're chatting about how we have a lot of similarities in the world of creativity and sustaining creativity. So I can't wait to chat about that. But before we get there, if you could let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I call myself a creative guide because that's what feels right for me. And I'm a multi-passionate artist. I love photography, graphic design, collaging, painting, whatever fits me at the moment. And I also love helping others get unstuck with their creative blocks. So really using self-care as the motivational piece to feel more in the creative flow. So I've kind of pieced together self-care and creativity as one and the same, and both can help each other so amazingly. And I'm a life coach as well as graphic designer, and I also make products. So I've created the self-care adventure cards, which I launched on Kickstarter 2020, and I sell those to help people with their self-care routines.
Oh my God, I love literally every single thing you said. And I can't wait to hear more about these self-care adventure cards because I feel like I probably need them. And that sounds incredible. Oh my goodness, all of the pieces, the creativity and the graphic design. So is one of these a full-time and others are like side gigs? Or is this you're like all full-time all the time?
Yeah, it's a lot of everything and it's a lot of balance, which is very difficult. I've been doing freelance design for about 4 years now, but I got certified in life coaching in 2020. And that's when I started to look deeper into helping people move through their blocks. Because I always wanted to do some sort of coaching and I didn't know how. And it all kind of came together. But through my experiences, working with other clients, I was like, oh, wait, I can't just work with someone when they don't know what they're doing yet with their business and trying to figure it out. So I started to learn how to ask the right questions and really just help them get through some of the things they were moving through. And when I created the card deck, that's what actually kicked off this more creativity self-care duo, because I realized how important they go together.
Absolutely. And I love that you're doing that. Creativity and self-care. So important, not only for performing artists, creative artists, but the world, everyone, no matter what you do, it's so important. So bravo for combining those two because they're so needed. And yeah, that's so wonderful. Well, when you think about creativity, what does it mean to you to be creative?
I really think it just means to exist. So I think we're all creative. And, there's the people that say, oh, I could never do that. I'm not creative. And I'm always like, you are, just in your own way, not always the visual way or the painter archetype or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I just think it means to really utilize your energy to design the life that you want to live. So we all are approached with problems throughout the day. So how can you solve that with your creative energy and make your life, as easy and as abundant as possible? And when we have our creative outlets, which is where maybe there's more of a visual flow or a movement flow, those are the places where we can truly express ourselves
Mm.
and connect with the world, outwardly.
Yeah, absolutely. You said creative energy. For our listeners who may not quite understand what creative energy is, how would you describe creative energy?
I think it's like, I believe in this concept of the creative wellspring that's inside of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Mm.
So we all have one, but we might not all like utilize it properly, or it could feel covered up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this life force energy that then helps drive us along the path.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do self care to fill it up, like, we can really fill our cup and fill our wellspring up.
Yeah.
Then I just feel like when you're using your energy in a more clear-headed way, or setting the boundaries that serve you better, so that you can then
Mm.
like just say yes to the things that you really want to do and get yourself out of that stuck state that would be like more of the habitual things that are not serving you anymore.
Yeah.
And when you learn how to like use that life force energy in a way that serves your life, you're going to end up seeing so many more good things happen, connections are made, like you'll feel like the stars are aligning and you're heading towards your goals. So it's really not just for like a quote unquote creative career. It's just
Mhm.
for anyone that's looking to feel better in their life.
Yeah. Such a great distinction. Like, it's not just for those quote unquote creatives, it really is for anyone who wants to transform their life and use a perhaps unique lens to do it from. It sounds like I love it because
Yes.
that's what I do too. And I mean, talking, just hearing you talk about the life force, the energy blocks, your own creative journey, I imagine not only with clients, but with yourself, you come up against creative challenges and blocks. What are some of the creative challenges you have had to face? And then how do you face them?
Oh yeah. So I definitely am no stranger to these. And I think the reason why I'm called to do this work is mainly to help myself first. So
Mhm.
realizing that self-care was going to be that like number one thing to help me if I was coming across like an energy crisis where I wasn't feeling like energetic, or I wasn't
Mhm.
feeling like I had any ideas, or I try to write blogs. I'm not writing them currently, but I want to be. And it's kind of like if I'm feeling stuck when I sit down at the desk and I feel forced, how
Mhm.
can I reframe that into a place where I'm like, let me just go for a walk, bring my phone and like do audio notes and come back and transcribe them. So I think
Mhm.
the first step for me is when I'm coming across like a flow of content block, I'll just like reframe it, go do something else and come back to it, because our ideas aren't just going to come to us at the computer. And in like bigger areas about programs for my business, or
Mhm.
um, like solving, like what's next in my career, I like literally have clipboards that I write down, one subject on one, and then I have like five across the bed. I start making mind maps on them, and I
Mhm.
kind of try to piece all the puzzle pieces together. And then I like forget about it for a couple days, then I'll come back to it. I'll start, voice messaging friends and talking it through. So I think my
Mhm.
community has really helped me through, and just taking constant little steps if I'm feeling stuck, and
Mhm.
really noticing like what kind of block it is. Is this like a imposter syndrome block, or is it
Mm.
an energy block, or is there something else that I need to uncover inside of myself too?
Mhm.
And that can be really hard and not comfortable, but I think this personal development journey never ends, and it can be really rewarding to look back at old journals and be like, oh, wait, I did move through that. Like, I'm proud of myself. I'm going to celebrate that.
Nice. I mean, you talked about different types of blocks. How do you figure out what type of block you're having?
It's really just an intuitive thing.
Mhm.
So I've been working on becoming more intuitive, which is a very, beautiful process. And I could
Mhm.
not really tell you how because it's so intuitive.
Yeah.
But I know there's other great resources about intuition.
Mhm.
So I have something called like How to Create a Self-Care Mindset in like, 3 steps. So
Mm-hmm.
my first step is really sit with your body and notice, is it something like, where do you feel a deficit? Like, is it a physical feeling? Is it an emotional feeling or mental? And
Mm-hmm.
then once I've decided, like, okay, it's physical, I'm really tired. And then the next step is, how much time do you have? So it could be like, I have 5 minutes, let me just go like sit quietly. Or, if I have
Mm-hmm.
the evening off, I might turn in early.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next step would really be like picking that thing. So I kind of already
Mm-hmm.
said it, but it's like
Yeah.
picking what you're going to do with that time. And it's really just like a check in with yourself, maybe set a timer on your phone for every hour and be like, how do I feel? and then
Mm-hmm.
once you start noticing your trends with, like through your cycles of the day or the
Mm-hmm.
week, I think you'll only get there by noting it as you go and not just like
Mm-hmm.
waiting for the block to come up. Like try to like create the process of checking in, even if you're
Yeah.
not feeling the block. So you get there, you might be like, oh, wait, like, yeah, I didn't take care of myself yesterday. I ate a lot of garbage food and I'm not feeling great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe I'll try to eat a little healthier tomorrow and then
Mm-hmm.
see how I feel and check back in then.
Nice. I love that process. Just those reminders of like, it's okay to check in. It's important to check in and get a sense of where is that deficit or where is the gap, mental, emotional, physical, and go from there. Yeah, like great reminders and super handy tools and tips for all of the listeners who want to
Yes.
pay more attention to where their gaps are, where their deficits are in terms of their creativity. Nice. Well, gonna take a little sharp left turn and ask you about your childhood and what your
Oh boy.
earliest memory of being creative was.
So I actually thought about this one and like when you sent me the questions, and I have this very vivid memory of drawing with chalk on the blacktop. Like
Mhm.
my old house, we had a pool and we would just go swimming and go put our towels on the blacktop and then draw whatever came up. And I just felt like that sensation of feeling the summer heat and freedom just was
Mhm.
so amazing. And my sister is an artist too, so she had a workshop in the basement with painting, and she does baking now. So there was always like some creative activity happening,
Mhm.
and we would go to the art museum, had like art classes. So sometimes we
Mhm.
would make random things and learn about primary colors and all that. Um, and what was hard was that I never really felt good at any of those things, like the visual art
Mhm.
stuff, but I was comparing myself to my sister who was like really amazing at it.
Mhm.
So I decided to take photography as like my outlet, and that became more of my way to connect with the world. And she couldn't quite do that as well as I did. So I was like, okay, I got this.
You got your own
Um,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. So just throughout childhood, like trying to really develop what was best for me. And I think
Mhm.
I got a point and shoot camera for my 8th grade graduation.
Mhm.
So I bought that with my graduation money, and my family went to Hawaii,
Mhm.
and my dad and I went to a botanical garden, and I just took so many photos of flowers and plants, and it
Mhm.
was just our thing to do together. And I
Nice.
still, honestly, anywhere I go, I'll find a botanical garden and just like take beautiful photos there. And that's my safe space. So I love nature and all that,
Mhm.
but I feel like, I truly connect with the earth part of the art, and I love
Mhm.
traveling for that reason.
Nice.
And that I don't do it as much anymore as far as like photography. Like it used to be my identity, but
Mhm.
now I just love capturing the moment, and maybe I'll make a book out of the photo or print it out, but it's
Mhm.
changed a lot in the last 10 years for many
Yeah.
reasons.
Nice. I mean, I heard you talk a little bit about as a kid, finding the version or the thing that was yours that you felt really passionate or talented at. Do you feel like as an adult, you use what you learned in that time to continue to discover what you're passionate about? Or,
Yeah, I really think it never stopped. I've always been very curious, and
Mhm.
like I'll take a soap making class and I'll get to
Mm.
learn that skill, and
Mhm.
then I'll forget about it and then I'll try to learn it again. And it's an evolving process. And
Hmm.
my career as a creative guide has been pretty much like a result of all of that because I got to try everything. My parents were always very supportive, and
Hmm.
like I've worked in random places. I used to work on a boat in Maine and got to
Wow.
like live that life. And
Hmm.
it was a very like quiet life versus,
Hmm.
working at like a busy marketing agency. So I have all these different directions that I've been pulled in, but the main source of that was creativity, like creative
Hmm.
expression.
Yeah.
All my jobs have been something with like a
Mm.
creative outlet. And now that I get to like do whatever I want, like that's like the adulting way.
Yeah.
I'm still drawn to like crafts and things just
Hmm.
because like I do a lot of professional creativity, but I want to just have like a nice time to unwind and make
Yeah,
something tangible.
absolutely. And like fill your creative cup with like that personal creative craft or whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think there's a lot of pressure to share everything that we do. And that's
Thousand
like,
percent. Yes.
yeah. So when you're just kind of doing it for yourself, like, I mean,
Mhm.
cooking for me is like the biggest reward because I can
Mm.
think of something, find the recipe, make it, and then I get to enjoy it. And it's like
Mhm.
very personal. And
Yeah.
I could share a pretty picture, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's just more about the gap between working and then settling for the night. I just love to
Mhm.
break it up with a good cooking session.
Nice. I love that. And I love, that just bringing that creativity into the kitchen. And it is that personal expression and experience that you don't share with anyone. It's purely for you. Because I don't think we in Western society culture really do many things that are just for us. Our culture is very much do for others,
Yes.
take care of everyone, do anything for yourself, don't take care of yourself. And so creativity is a great way to reconnect and take care of yourself. So I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, and like self-care can be really hard for some people because they're not used to it. And I told someone last night, it's like, if you've been saying that you never do something, what if you replace it with up until now, I never, took time for
Yeah.
myself. So like really reframe what you
Hmm.
want. And it
Hmm.
might be uncomfortable. You might have to set a boundary and be like, hey, every Saturday morning, I want like the room to myself to just do whatever, like read or draw
Hmm.
and like kick everyone else out if you live with people, and try to like use the community care as a helpful support and
Yeah.
have having a supportive partner or family
Hmm.
member to help either take the kids away for a little bit. Like
Hmm.
you have to voice your needs, no one else will,
Yeah.
and they might take advantage of you if you just never speak up too. So I agree, there's a lot of like difficulty in practicing self-care, and
Hmm.
especially mothers that are empty nesters, like they have
Hmm.
probably so used to just like taking care of the herd. And
Hmm.
once the kids are gone, it's like, oh my God, what do I do? And maybe grandkids come in, but it's still like you kind of have to refine your path and your
Hmm.
purpose, but
Yeah.
using creativity as just like a guiding post to be like, oh,
Hmm.
like this could feel really good and it doesn't have to mean the whole world. It's just like a moment that I get to express myself.
Right. Absolutely. And, really rediscovering that new identity as someone else, or who do you want
Yes.
to be? Who do you want to become? Is what a gift to explore creatively as well. So I imagine just, in everyday life, we bump up against things that problems we have to solve. What are some of the everyday issues that you have used creativity to solve in your life?
So going back to the food thing,
Yeah.
that's been an issue as far as like making lunch, and I just never think about it. I think it's because my mom always had like leftovers, or
Oh,
she would
yeah.
make like things to put away into the fridge, and we'd always have like chicken salad or stew. Like now I just cook for like the one meal and I don't think ahead, but I had to like make this mindset shift about like lunch being like a nourishing activity. Like I can use this time
Mm-hmm.
to take a break, like have a nice meal, really I could put my phone away for that hour and either like sit outside or do something nourishing for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that does take a lot of creative energy because I have to plan ahead for the grocery store. I have to plan out like, okay, this is not for, lunch, this is for dinner, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taxing. So that's just one like everyday example for me.
Mm-hmm.
And like otherwise, my exercise too. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I hate exercise because it's not about like it's just like I never thought I was that kind of person, but
Mm-hmm.
now again, it's a nourishing moment. So how can I create a schedule that works for me? And I notice it's better in the morning. So like
Mm-hmm.
finding the right gym classes or checking the weather that if I can go for a walk, like
Mm-hmm.
really setting into connecting with myself first and being like, what do I
Mm-hmm.
need right now?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like gentle yoga. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we have like they always say like get your gym shoes out the night before so you're like ready, so like
Mm-hmm.
not having to use all your creative energy in the morning to decide something. So it's nice to check in before I go to bed to be like, okay, I'm going to wake up and do this. Like
Yeah.
there's just like simple life things that can really benefit you by planning ahead. And
Yeah.
then of course with like work doing creative stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, design is like literally problem solving. So
Yeah.
I I think what I do for that is try to take every project in chunks, like have
Mm.
milestones.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm not going to finish the project the day I start it. I'm not even going to
Mm-hmm.
open up the design program until I've made an outline of the plan and been like,
Mm-hmm.
looking for inspiration first, and then write down all the notes that need to happen and then move from there. And then at
Mm-hmm.
least it doesn't feel like I have to have this whole thing like weighing on me and weighing down my computer and
Yeah.
trying to like rush. So giving yourself that time to create too is very
Mm.
important. And I've had to, it's still not perfect at all. It's just more like I've got
Yeah.
to check in with myself and be like, why am I stressing about this? Like I have time. I'm not doing it
Mm-hmm.
right at the deadline. So,
Mm-hmm.
being smart about your time too.
Yeah. Nice. It's that work in progress. We're all works in progress. We're still
Yes,
learning and discovering and figuring out the ways that work, the ways that don't work. Yeah. And I think creativity is such a gift to support that. It's here to help us figure it out and not, personalize it. And we did something or we made a mistake. We at least tried something. We learned that doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to try it differently
exactly.
next time. Yeah, for
Yeah, and
sure.
you might need to try it a couple times before you realize that you're coming against a wall, and you could
Mhm.
think of a different option, or stop doing that thing altogether. Like just
Yeah.
that's the creative energy that we
Mhm.
want to like protect and make sure that we're using it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I imagine with the work that you do and just life in general, you come across people who don't feel creative or don't believe they're creative. And how would you encourage others to find creativity in their life?
So I would encourage them to find creative things that they might not have normally thought were creative, kind of what we've
Mm.
all been talking about,
Mhm.
like reframing cooking or arranging your schedule or
Mhm.
infusing creativity into your self-care routines. Like I like the idea of like self-care duos, like pairing one thing with the
Mm.
next. Like
Mhm.
maybe you're cooking a nice meal and it's themed to the movie that you're going to watch. Like we just
Mm.
watched Ratatouille, so we could have made like a nice, French meal. So like having fun with it
Mhm.
and realizing that that is creative too, and like
Mhm.
broadening your creative definition to just really expression.
Mhm.
And the more you can come from that place of like trial and error, like it's not going to be perfect, like really
Yeah.
keeping the faith that like everything is a learning process, and like
Mhm.
you're not going to be born Michelangelo, like you're going to practice
Right.
practice practice practice. And every painter has different periods of their art that you might
Mhm.
see the one famous one and not realize they had to go through so many sketches to get there. So
Yeah.
really, like, just putting it into perspective and
Hmm.
taking a break from comparisonitis, because that can really could deter people from even trying,
Yeah.
because they're like, why would I even try that? I'm not good at it.
Right.
But you're never going to get good at it unless you try. So
Hmm.
start where you are and know that like you doing that thing is just going to help fill your cup, fill your soul, and it'll make you shine brighter to like attract more people into your space, like whatever
Hmm.
space you're in, and then
Yeah.
you can connect on that level. So like join a knitting club or like find mutual interest, and
Hmm.
that's really like been hard to do lately, obviously, but the more we
Sure.
can connect with, mutual interests, like the
Hmm.
more we'll learn from the others.
Absolutely. And I love what you were saying about comparison. And there's this quote, I'm for sure not going to remember who said it, but comparison is the thief of joy. And that strikes me as like, oh, right. When I get really caught up in my own comparison to other people, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking my joy away in this moment, or I'm giving it away. And to really recognize, no, I deserve to have joy and I'm going to keep my joy and not compare myself to other people.
Exactly. And the more you come from that space, like the more joy that will be generated. Like I
Hmm.
believe it's like, the Newton's law where, an
Right.
object in motion stays in motion.
Yeah.
And the more you just keep at it, and, it doesn't have to be like the same project every day. I definitely can't do that. But like
Hmm.
the the closer you can like hone in and focus in on like what your passions are, and in that moment like enjoy it, and then they'll
Hmm.
probably change and you might come back to it, but overall like it's really just an intuitive path to get you there.
Hmm.
And literally I just doodle on my iPad like half the nights anyway. Like I'm not creating anything like to share,
Yeah.
or I don't want to make my career as an illustrator, but I like to
Hmm.
play with it. So
Hmm.
have fun with it, and maybe some things make you money and then some things are just for you.
Yeah. Great reminder. Awesome tips. It's been such a treat to chat with you. I just have one last question. What does it feel like in your body to be creative?
Hmm, that is a good question. I mean, I really just feel that flow. Like
Mm,
when I am in the creative flow, I feel lighter. I feel like
mm,
things like the synapses are firing at a better level,
mhm,
and the the joy, and usually it's paired with like exercise, like that good feeling you get after swimming. Like it
mhm,
just feels like at the end of the night I go to bed like complete and I can just like
mm.
fall asleep. And that I don't know if you know anything about human design, but I'm a generator and
Mhm.
generators in human design have to like use up this energy, and
Yeah.
otherwise they just can't really feel complete at the end of the day.
Mm,
So my creativity is very important, and I try to just find different ways to express it each day.
mhm.
And it doesn't always happen that way, but my body definitely notices when I have expressed myself, and it feels very wonderful.
I love it. I love all of it. Thank you so much for sharing. And if people want to learn more about the things that you do, how to get your card deck, sign up for coaching, all those fun things, where would they do that?
Yeah, so my website is just anytimecreative.com.
Mhm.
You can see the card deck right on the homepage. And on my Instagram is generally where I announce everything else, which is just at Anytime Creative. I have like creative coaching spots open, self care, makeover sessions. Like we can kind of work on anything that you feel like you need help with, like in that moment.
Mhm.
And yeah, so just I'm mainly on Instagram, and then I just started a TikTok at Anytime Creative too. So I'm playing with that too.
Fun. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. It has been such a treat, and I love all the things you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really inspiring to me.
Yay, I'm so glad. Thanks for listening to the Sustaining Creativity Podcast. We'd love to keep in touch, so follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We are at Sustaining Creativity. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tag your friends and family so they can listen too. We love to hear from you, so leave your reviews, comments, and questions. Check out our website, sustainingcreativity.com, for upcoming offerings and creativity coaching. Tune in Tuesdays for our next episode. And remember, with creativity, anything's possible.